As most wrestling fans saw and were absolutely hyped for, TNA Wrestling announced they were officially back. After some great matches followed by a good old-fashioned debut from a WWE wrestler, their return pay-per-view, Hard to Kill, was good and proved TNA wasn't going through some cheap rebrand for a quick pop. The show, the vibe, and the matches all felt like TNA, which set up the return for their flagship show, iMPACT. The first iMPACT card back saw matches like the X Division Scramble, a segment from Dolph Ziggler, Eric Young and Kazarian vs Grizzled Young Vets in a tag match, and a main event consisting of Will Ospreay vs Josh Alexander. So yeah, much like Hard to Kill, TNA iMPACT was looking to put on a strong first impression. The show started off with the X Division Scramble, which was pretty amazing and quite the definition of total non-stop action. The variety of participants mixed with the very cool moves was pretty great to watch, and much like at Hard to Kill, Vikingo looked great, and is very clearly the next big thing in regards to Lucha Libre. After countering a Hurricanrana, Jake Something would throw Vikingo out of the ring onto everybody else, which then led to Jake hitting his finisher for the win. And when I say this match was amazing, I mean it was amazing. Everyone in this match looked great and did an even better job at showcasing themselves. Crazy good opener and gets me insanely hyped for the future of TNA. Next up was Xia Brookside vs Tasha Steelz. And much like a few wrestlers in current TNA, I have no idea who these women are. But that's not particularly a bad thing. During Xia's entrance, commentary would say that she signed to TNA right after her showing at the last pay-per-view, so that's pretty cool to hear. Xia will ultimately defeat the former Knockouts champ in a quick but decent match. We then see a recap of Joe Hendry and Top Dollar from Hard to Kill, where Top Dollar got the upper hand on Joe. And after the recap, we see Joe talking for a few, then revealing Top Dollar's manager behind him knocked out. Nice short little segment which seamlessly sets up Hendry vs Dollar at a future date. And one thing I'll say I love already is that TNA is actually trying to get storylines going. Before watching this, I kinda expected to see some decent to great matches, but actual storylines being built alongside as well. That's pretty refreshing. After a vignette showing a freshly debuting Dana Brooke, it was now time for the Grizzled Young Vets vs Kazarian and Eric Young. This match started off immediately after entrances as Eric Young went crazy and just started wrestling. After a few minutes, the match slows down until we see a very nice looking elbow backbreaker onto the outside, which then sets up the Grizzled Young Vets to hit their finisher for the 1-2-3. And after the match, fans would applaud the two TNA OGs until Kazarian, out of nowhere, attacked and turned on Eric Young, sparking the crowd to erupt in boos and fuck you chants. Cool and actually unexpected turn. Points to TNA for the unpredictability. After some more promos and segments concerning the women's and world champ, we had Dolph Ziggler, now known as Nick Nemeth, in the ring ready to talk to the TNA crowd. After being showered by cheers and chants, Nick talks about how he accomplished a lot of things in his 19-year career, but how it was only in one world, being the WWE. He then goes on to say how he has a lot left in the tank and will become TNA World Champion, but only after he earns it. Which then leads to former champ Steve Maclin coming out. Steve will then cut a nice promo trying to expose that Dolph was only using TNA as a crutch to get somewhere else, which then leads to Steve receiving a zigzag. Looks like we're getting Dolph vs Steve at the next pay-per-view, which has potential. Now it was time for the main event, Will Ospreay vs Josh Alexander 2. And this was pretty much guaranteed going to be a banger, which is kind of why it sucks a lot of the good stuff happened in commercial. Like, I get his picture-in-picture and we could still see, but why is Will Ospreay delivering a DDT outside when I can't hear or fully see? Why is he teasing a pile driver off the apron through a table when I can't hear or see? It just doesn't really make sense, you know? Okay, let me stop bitching. This was a phenomenal match. The pacing was well, the moves were great, and the wrestlers really showed the hell out for TNA's first Impact back. Oh, and remember that table I was talking about? Ospreay would hit Alexander with a tiger driver off the apron through that table, which immediately had the crowd chanting TNA and holy shit. But unfortunately for me, that meant it was time for commercial. During picture-in-picture, Ospreay and Alexander would have some pretty cool exchanges and sequences on the ramp, which then led to a spinning tombstone by Josh. After some more back and forth, which then led to a poison Rana off the top rope, a hidden blade, and a tiger driver, Josh would kick out, go full Super Cena, and get all his shit in. And after hitting the C4, Josh Alexander would beat Will Ospreay in what was a 10 out of 10 match. Would literally be 100 out of 10 if it wasn't for the commercials. Legit pay-per-view quality match. After the match, TNA owner, I think, Scott D'Amore comes out and gives a heartfelt speech and tops off a great TV return with these few words.
TNA, it's back, and it's never, ever going away.